Guru Nation, thank you so much for watching. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, and share. It really, really, really means a lot to me. Make sure you do it. Thank you so much. Look, I got an anonymous question from LinkedIn. If you put YouTube questions, everybody knows those are public. So we will put screenshots of those. But when they are a direct message, I can't assume this, right? So this is from a physician, an MD, consultant, geriatric medicine. This person's a doctor that's trying to be a generalist. And the question is, hey, highly inspired by the work you're doing. Thank you very much. I wanted to ask, is there any video or can you make one for suggestions for doctors looking to switch to pharma? Like roles like medical advisor, medical affairs, medical liaison. There's a lot. Look, physicians that are just like nurses, RNs. We talk a lot on this program about registered nurses that get tired of bedside care and they look to research as an alternative career option after they do bedside care for some time. Those are the exact kind of people CROs and sponsors are looking to hire to be CRAs. So with physicians, it's the same principle, but there's actually more you can do. Like for RNs, you could either be a CRC or a CRA. And then once you're there and you have the experience there, you can now go into a whole bunch of other things just like everyone else, right? Well, for an MD, there's even more. Like, let's not forget, like I'm an entrepreneur at heart, site ownership. I think being a PI, being a sub-I, owning your own site, to me is a clear alternative for physicians that are tired of standard of care. They're tired of private practice, chasing down payers, chasing down insurance companies for their payments, having to hire authorizers or whatever they call them to do the prior auths. Like you need the insurance industry has gotten so ridiculous as far as denying everything that these internal medicine physicians literally have to hire people to do prior auths. Like that's all they do is prior authorizations just to give good healthcare to their patients. Like that's a whole nother podcast. Maybe that's a channel for someone else. You have a lot of options. Obviously, if you're a physician and you have a private practice, to me, it's a no-brainer. You want to do research as well. You want to start a research clinic within your practice. Maybe you don't own your private practice. I still think you should start research on the side. I think research, being a PI, one of the most rewarding things you can do. I've never been a PI, but all the physicians that I've partnered with, worked with in the past, they all pretty much think, even if they had like not generally great experiences, they all think it's really cool that they got in on the cutting edge of what's next. Like not everyone actually succeeds doing their own site, running their own site, but all of them thought it's like super cool that they're involved, that they get to see what's next, that they get to play a role. A lot of them can become key opinion leaders as well. So you really have like that triple threat physicians that is busy private practice, right? Or maybe not even private practice, just busy prescriber combined with researcher, combined with speaker. Like you literally become a key opinion leader talking about your specialties, talking about your experiences with the medications that you're prescribing. There's so much there that can lead to consulting opportunities. That can lead to things like medical advisor. So not everyone gets to be a key opinion leader, not every physician. But any physician can become a dual threat, private practice or prescriber and researcher. That dual threat is enough to be a med advisor. I know a lot of startup companies, biotechs, med device companies. In my CRO, I have a startup CRO, a boutique. It's actually been a startup since 2016, more or less, maybe 2015. So it's not really a startup anymore, but it's a boutique. Like, we always feel like we're in startup mode because we maybe focus on like a couple of trials at a time. We're trying to change that now. We're trying to really bring more CRO opportunities to small sponsors that usually get ignored by the bigger CROs. That's a whole nother podcast then and there on its own. We're always looking for physicians that are these dual threats, that understand research, that understand private practice, that understand mechanism of action, because now you're getting into medical affairs, you're getting into possibly regulatory affairs, you're getting into deep therapeutic area expertise, you're getting into medical writing, you're getting into things like scientific liaison, medical science liaisons, which, yes, those roles usually are pharmacists, but you can be an MD and be in those roles. You can do other things too, like medical monitor for a sponsor. There's a tremendous need, and you start separating yourself from the pack. And what I mean by the pack is, if you go to any city in the country, any city in the world, but let's just use the United States as an example. It's not rare to find physicians, especially in the bigger cities. There's a lot of competition. Like in a town like Yuma, it's more underserved, so it might be rare to actually find a good specialist. But in big cities like LA, where I came from, or Phoenix, or Boston, or wherever, it's not rare to find physicians. It's not rare to find a specialist. It's not even rare to find a good specialist. But you start separating yourself from the rest when you start adding services, you start adding skill sets to your practice, to your resume. Research opens up a whole new world. Once you get into that role, once you do research and private practice, or research and patient treatment, you immediately like top 1% of the physicians in the country. Like, just by the fact that you're doing research. And somebody fact check me on this. It might even be less than that. But there's an alarming stat. Something like 90% of physicians that do their first research study never do their second one. So this means they didn't do it properly. They didn't have the right staff underneath them. You really need a good coordinator, or you need a good infrastructure to be able to pull this off. But if you are able to break through that barrier, which is really just doing 2 studies, once you figure out how to do 2 studies, you can figure out how to do more. You are now in rarefied air as a physician, doing practice and research. If you keep doing that, you're gaining the attention eventually of smaller biotechs that don't have the resources of the larger pharma companies. They can't just call up their key opinion leaders and say, "Hey, Frank, we got this new study. We need you to be one of the key opinion leaders. We need you to help write the protocol. We need you to help speak at this conference." They can't afford those people, or those people have limited bandwidth. So they're going to look for the next best thing, which is the people in the trenches, usually in private industry, getting their hands dirty treating patients and doing research. Once you combine those 2 things, it's pretty powerful. Now, there are other roles you can have as a physician if you don't want to combine owning a site or running a site. You can go work for a site and be employed by a site as a PI. Initially, they'll probably start you off as a sub-investigator because you don't have the experience. So you become a sub-I, eventually you become a PI. But once you realize how simple it actually is, like, research is a industry that seems complex. It actually is complex. But it seems so complex and so like regulatory. There's such a regulatory burden, it seems like there is, to start a site compared to what the reality of it actually is. We have entire videos on how to start a site. most people never even try. So if you're watching this, you're already in rarefied air. Thank you very much. Really try to do research however you can, and really try to control the studies that you get, like AKA work for yourself in this case, or at least partner with a good company, or partner with good people that know what they're doing. Like Dr. Smith, who's one of my PIs here, partner with me at Yuma Clinical Trials. Our pulmonologist, Dr. Shaw, partner with me to do pulmonary studies. And there's other specialists that we have that I've partnered with. They see this part, and they found someone, me and my team, that could run the actual operations for them. They're in rarefied air now. Now when they go to conferences, Dr. Shaw just went to conferences. He's so pumped. He's one of the few doctors there that's talking about doing research. Everyone else who's there is just there to read the slides, read the latest publications. There's nothing wrong with that. But Dr. Shaw can now say, well, I was actually involved in that study. What I noticed from my patients, this and that, or this mechanism of action is interesting to me because, and then they can get into a whole conversation with people that are looking for physicians like him or her to bring them on. Hey, do you do consulting on the side? Well, no, never considered it, but what do you need? Well, we need a pulmonologist who's done research. Okay, well, that's actually me. And now you open up other opportunities for yourself as a physician entrepreneur to do consulting, to do medical writing, to do medical affairs, to be a medical advisor. Do you know how many biotechs need MDs on their board, at least on their medical advisory board? And if you catch the biotech early enough, you could position yourself to be on the board of directors, or you can at least position yourself to be an advisor with stock options. I mean, there's a world of opportunity there for people in your position. Med advisor. So what is a medical advisor? A medical advisor is literally someone with deep therapeutic area expertise, not necessarily a key opinion leader, just deep therapeutic expertise, both in the practical sense of how to treat patients in standard of care, what things work off-label, what I've noticed from research studies I've done, and how to combine all these things maybe to do a repurposed drug with a biotech. If you just randomly pick biotech companies, the smaller the cap, the better. Look at their initial board. They're all doctors. They actually write these companies write press releases when a new doctor joins their board. These are assets. You're an asset for those companies if you figure out how to combine standard of care, or at least your expertise from that world, with research. And then you take some time to learn the nuances of regulatory. Well, what's the regulatory pathway for this type of drug or this type of IP? Is it a PMA? Is it a 510K? Is it a 505B, 505C? My friend Robert Goldman can tell you all about this stuff. My friend Darshan Kulkarni can tell you all about this stuff. But if you're in this situation, you need to learn these things too. Because now all you're doing is you're just adding more skill sets. You're becoming more of a generalist. But also, the more skill sets you add to your repertoire, the more the rarefied air you're in. To the point where you may not need to do private practice anymore. I know so many doctors handcuffed by their overhead, by the bills they have to pay. They would love to hire help. They can't afford it. If you open up some extra revenue streams, you can hire more clinicians to do the work, and you can take more of a higher level role over your services that you offer. So I get so excited when I talk to doctors. They all think it's too good to be true. It may sound like it is, doing research as a physician. The caveat is you got to have the good team with you. It boils down to having a really good coordinator if you're going to start doing studies on your own. If you're not willing to do the studies on your own, partner with someone that knows what they're doing. Look at what they've done, not what they're saying, but what they've actually done. A lot of people out there that are non-physicians try to take advantage of physicians by telling them one of the biggest fear tactics, I guess, is scaring a physician into why you need them. Hey, well, the reason why you need me and why this is going to be my cut is because of all this. Like, they'll start scaring you with all this crazy stuff. And yes, there's a lot. All the responsibility of being a PI is on your shoulders as a PI, but you just need to have a CRC that knows what they're doing. You need to have a QA system in place that makes sure that you're adhering to the protocol and GCP. Like, it's not that complicated. There's going to be all these charlatans coming out of the woodwork saying, hey, well, you need a mock audit and it's going to cost $15,000. And that's because this industry has been shrouded in so much secrecy that these kind of characters come out of the woodwork and tell you, hey, yeah, fear, pay me. We see this happen, by the way, with CROs and smaller sponsors that don't know what they're doing. So you need to figure out what you're doing. You need to figure out, just do a little bit more work to understand the fundamentals of this industry. And then you can go on. And by the way, if your site doesn't do well, you can always go to be a medical monitor. Or if you don't like it, you can hire someone to be the PI. You can focus on just building the business. Now you're just the site owner. Now you can go do these other things anyways because you have the resume now. You have the skill set. Medical monitor is a natural transition after being a PI. I know a lot of PIs that are site owners that are also medical monitors on the side. There may be some rules about not being the medical monitor for the study, the same study that you're a PI for, as that might be conflict of interest, but there's a lot of studies out there. You don't need to be the PI for every study. You can diversify your skill set. If you want a more traditional role, medical writer, medical science liaison, medical advisors, the more skill sets, I guess the theme of this whole video is the more skill set you're adding as a physician, the less dependent you are going to be on a paycheck from someone, and the more entrepreneur you're going to be, the more of a contractor you're going to be, the more alternative and multiple streams of revenue you're going to have that you deserve, honestly, because you have the education, you have the experience, now you've got the research experience, now you're adding the knowledge and the skill set. There's not that many people out there like you, supply and demand. But it starts with taking that leap of faith, doing your due diligence, and it's a big industry in the sense that there's a lot of money here, but it's also a small industry in the sense that there's not that much of a supply of a workforce, let alone physicians that understand multiple angles of the same problem. That's it. Short video. Like, subscribe, comment, share. Talk to you later, Guru Nation. Bye-bye. Hey, if you guys like that kind of content, make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share. Stay tuned for more videos.